Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you sent us quite the reading list today. I mean, a real mountain of source material.
It's definitely a stack. We've got ancient Indian texts, Buddhist canons, stuff from Naho psychology, Mayan cosmology, even Chinese statecraft. It's quite the spread.
A truly global philosophical library. So the idea, I guess, is to pull out some common threads.
That's the mission, yeah. We're aiming for a cohesive deep dive, looking specifically at, the nature of the self, how the mind functions, and what these traditions saw as the ultimate goal, liberation, aspiration, things like that.
Right. And for you, the learner, the goal isn't just definitions. It's about getting that rapid, thorough insight, seeing how these ideas might connect or contrast, and maybe even how they apply.
Exactly. Synthesis, not just summary.
Okay, so where should we dive in first? Makes sense to start, perhaps, with some of those foundational Indian concepts.
Good place to start. Let's look at Hinduism, specifically the Upanishads. They offer this really profound, non-dualistic view. It starts with Brahman.
Brahman, the supreme spirit.
Yes, but more than that. It's the totality. The sources are very clear. This whole universe is Brahman. Everything.
Okay, hang on. If Brahman is literally everything, then where do I fit in? Does the individual just disappear into that?
That's the crucial question. And the answer the Upanishads give is Atman.
Atman, the true self.
Your true self, yeah. The part of you that's, divine, immortal. And the key insight, the big aha moment, is realizing that this Atman within your heart is that Brahman.
So the individual consciousness is actually the universal consciousness.
In essence, yes. It's the ultimate reality dwelling inside the temporary sort of container of your body.
Okay. But if my Atman is eternal and already Brahman, why all the suffering? Why rebirth? That seems to be a big theme.
Right. Because that Atman gets caught up in samsara.
The cycle of rebirth, reincarnation.
Exactly. Passing from life to life, driven by karma.
Karma being the law of cause and effect.
Yeah.
What you sow, you reap, basically.
Basically, yes, but it's tied very specifically to intentional action, and this is key.
So it's not just what you do physically.
No, it's mental, verbal, and physical. Your thoughts, your words, your deeds, if they're intentional, they generate karma.
Okay. So if Atman is Brahman, the goal must be to realize that connection fully, to achieve moksha, liberation.
Precisely. It's about dissolving that illusion of being separate, merging back into the unity of Brahman, and finally stepping off that wheel of samsara, breaking the cycle.
Finding the one ultimate self. That really sets up a fascinating contrast with where Buddhism goes next, doesn't it? Because Buddhism kind of starts by questioning that very idea of a permanent self.
It really does. The focus shifts dramatically to the mind. The Dhammapada Pali, for instance, kicks right off by stating how central the mind is.
That famous line, Manopubaka Madama Madasita Manomaya, mind is the forerunner.
Of all experiences and actions, yes, it's a radical statement. Everything you feel, happiness or suffering, it originates in the mind. Act with a pure mind, happiness follows. Act with an impure mind.
Suffering follows, like the wheel follows the ox pulling the cart, yeah.
But the texts are also really clear that this mind, the citta, it's not easy to manage.
No, it sounds like quite a handful.
Yeah.
Subtle, flickering, fickle, unconstrained, hard to guard.
They compare it to a monkey.
Right, the monkey mind, constantly jumping.
Exactly, leaping from one sense object to the next. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feelings. Never still.
So the whole Buddhist path is essentially about taming that monkey.
In large part, yes. The suffering we create stems from what they call kilesa, afflictions, defilements, negative emotions.
And these are often boiled down to the unholy trinity.
That's a common way to put it, yes.
Let's break that down. We've got lobha, greed, passion.
Like a fire, yeah. Consuming desire. Then dosa, hatred, aversion, often described as a tight grip.
And moha, delusion, ignorance, like you're caught in a net.
Exactly. Think about being stuck in traffic, like we mentioned before. The intense wanting to move is lobha. The anger at other drivers, that's dosa. And the underlying belief that getting angry will somehow fix it, that's moha.
And that cycle just generates misery.
Guaranteed suffering. So the way out, the path to nibbana, ultimate liberation, true peace, is to starve those defilements.
Through diligent practice, the Noble Eightfold Path.
Which covers ethical conduct, sila, mental discipline, samadhi, and wisdom or deep understanding, prajna.
So summarizing the East here, Hinduism seeks unification, finding the Atman and realizing it's one with Brahman. Buddhism seeks eradication, eliminating the illusion of a permanent self and the defilements that cause suffering.
A really neat summary, yeah. two very different paths starting from similar ground.
Okay. Now, let's take that huge conceptual leap, as you said, across the Pacific to Mesoamerica.
Yeah.
Because their whole idea of the self is just radically different.
Radically different. We look at the Nahua, often called Aztec culture. Their psychology didn't have this single unified soul concept at all.
No single soul. So what do they have?
They saw the person as made of sort of dense and light substances, housing three distinct animistic forces, or souls. And crucially, these souls reside in specific body parts.
3 souls. Wow. Okay, so the goal isn't unity then. It must be balance, harmony,
Harmonization is a great way to put it. Okay, first force, tonali.
tonality. That's linked to warmth, heat, located in the head.
Primarily in the head, yeah. It's what animates you, gives you vigor. You had to actively care for your tonali. Losing it meant weakness, illness.
Makes sense. What's the second one?
Teolia. This one's in the heart. And since the heart was seen as the center, Teolia is the hub for thinking, feeling, willing, your psychological core, essentially.
And that's the one associated with leaving the body at death, transforming into a bird.
That's the association, yes. And finally, Iotol.
The eotol, in the liver. And this one is tied to negative emotions.
Specifically, yes. Things like greed, anger, envy. It wasn't inherently bad, but it absolutely had to be kept in balance for your health and, well, social harmony.
This is fascinating. So the self is this ongoing interplay. The sources mention the ixtali, the face, and the old tal, the heart.
Right. The face represents the individualized self, the part that needs shaping and development. The heart, the yolotl, is that dynamic psychological center where Teolia resides. The self is active, it's moving.
And their view of perception matched that, not just passively receiving information.
Not at all. Perception was considered active, the very center of consciousness. They really valued multisensory, almost synesthetic experiences.
You see that in their writing too, right? Like the Mapa de Koten Nanda too.
Yeah.
It's not just text.
Exactly. Those pictographic codices were visual guides for complex, embodied knowledge, often meant to be performed orally. It was about creating a whole experience, hitting multiple senses at once.
Wow. Okay. And the Mayans, did they share this idea of multiple souls, or did they take it somewhere else?
They built on similar ideas, but emphasized the distribution of self even more. Their concept of kul, or tul in some dialects, is key.
Cool. A vital essence. Sacred force.
Yes, a sacred force inserted into the body, but sometimes seen as universally shared. This means your personhood isn't just contained within your skin.
It can extend outwards. Into objects.
Into objects, absolutely. The god Kawil is often shown symbolizing this spiritual power embodied in material things, like a scepter. Identity is also fluid through kicks.
Identity, substitution, replacement.
Yeah, the idea that you could perhaps ritually take on the essence of a god, an ancestor, or even substitute for someone else, identity wasn't fixed.
And all this happens within their understanding of time, which was intensely cyclical.
Intensely cyclical, yes. Look at the Chilam Bellum books. They track history in these 20-year Khatun cycles. They believe these cycles were predictable. Priests could forecast the fate of an upcoming Khatun.
They weren't just observers of time. They were in it, living the cycle.
And rulers actively manipulated this. The concept of ordering times wasn't just abstract, it was spatial, experiential. Rulers would perform rituals tied to tech counts to link themselves to past and future cycles, literally embodying time.
Making themselves cosmic linchpins. Okay, so Mesoamerica gives us this picture of a complex, harmonized, distributed self operating within cyclical time.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us regarding sort of the ethics of action and its consequences?
Well, that brings us nicely back towards Asia, actually, connecting the internal state to the wider world, including society and governance. Let's quickly revisit karma.
Right. Buddhist concept. Action and result. Vipaka.
Wholesome actions driven by compassion, non-delusion lead to good results. Health, peace, even good reputation. Unwholesome actions driven by that unholy trinity of greed, hatred, delusion.
Lead to suffering. Simple, but profound.
And that focus on moral intention as the driver of outcomes is absolutely central in classical China, particularly with Mencius and the Mandate of Heaven, or Timing.
The mandate of heaven, the divine right to rule. But Mencius had a pretty radical take on it, didn't he?
Extremely radical for the time. He argued the mandate isn't about bloodline, it's earned through virtue, through governing well.
And if a ruler becomes wicked, oppresses the people.
Then he's forfeited the mandate. Mencius bluntly says he's but an ordinary man and implies that deposing or even killing him can be justified.
That's strong stuff. But how do you know if heaven approves or disapproves? Does heaven send a sign?
Not directly, no. Mencius says heaven doesn't speak. It reveals its will through the only voice it has,
The people.
the people's consent, or lack thereof. What heaven confers, Mencius says, is also what the people would have conferred. If the people are thriving and content, heaven approves. If they're suffering and rebellious, heaven has withdrawn its mandate.
So legitimacy flows from the governed. Wow. The way to rule, then, is to win the people's hearts.
That's the core principle. Give the people what they desire, peace, prosperity, justice, and avoid inflicting what they hate, war, poverty, tyranny. Mencius talks about the ancient sage kings governing with a mind that could not bear to see the suffering of others.
That empathetic, ethical core. It feels like it connects to Daoism, too, although maybe in a different way.
It does, though. Taoism branches out. We can compare a Laozi, traditionally linked to the Tao Te Ching, and Zhuangzi.
Laozi is more focused on the ruler, the big picture.
Generally, yes. The Tao Te Ching offers this framework for natural ethical conduct, often aimed at guiding a ruler on how to govern effectively by aligning with the Tao, the natural way. Simplicity, non-interference, wu-wei.
So Laozi is teaching the ruler how to steer the ship of state by sort of going with the flow. What about Zhuangzi?
Zhuangzi seems much more focused on the individual within that state, especially when the state is chaotic or oppressive. How do you, the ordinary person, navigate life?
So it's more about the passenger than the captain.
That's a great analogy. Zhuangzi emphasizes internal detachment, a kind of spiritual freedom, not taking worldly affairs too seriously. He uses these brilliant, complex, often funny stories and allegories.
To encourage a kind of perspective shift, seeing the bigger cosmic picture and finding freedom within it.
Exactly. Finding equanimity regardless of external circumstances.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize all this. We've journeyed from India's focus on ultimate unity or eradication of self.
Right. Dissolving Atman into Brahman or achieving Nibbana.
To Mesoamerica's dynamic, multiple, harmonized self extending into the world.
To Tenali, Teolia, Ihiotl, needing balance, the Krok connecting things.
And then to China, where the ethics of action, driven by inner intention, determine not only personal fate, but even political legitimacy.
Linking karma to the mandate of heaven and the Taoist paths for governing or navigating life.
But across all these incredibly diverse systems, there's this persistent thread, isn't there? The idea that your external reality, suffering, liberation, even how your society functions, is fundamentally shaped by your internal state.
Absolutely fundamental. Whether it's the purity of your mind in Buddhism, the balance of your vital forces for the Nawa, or the compassionate heart Mencius says are realer needs, the inner landscape dictates the outer one.
And these aren't just abstract philosophies, they offer actual frameworks, right? The Eightfold Path, ways to care for your Tenali, Taoist ethics. These are practical tools for understanding the world and yourself more thoroughly, for finding those aha moments.
They were meant to be lived, definitely. Practical guides to navigating existence.
Which brings us to that final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. Mencius noted that historically, great sage kings arose roughly every 500 years or so. And since it had been that long in his time, he felt one was overdue.
Bound to come to the fore, as he put it.
So, if the mandate of heaven, the legitimacy of leadership, truly rests on the consent, the hearts of the people, what responsibility does that place on you? You, the individual seeking knowledge, trying to understand and maybe even manage your own mind and heart. What role do you play in shaping the ethical compass, the spiritual health of the collective world?
A powerful question to consider. Where does individual cultivation meet collective destiny?